It's time for the Albertville Aggie Coach Bert Browne Show. Every Wednesday night, you can tune in to Power 107.5 with your host, Aggie play-by-play announcer, Barry Galloway, live at Legends in the Crossroad Mall in Albertville. For the next hour, Aggie head coach Bert Browne will be joined by other Aggie coaches and Albertville players, and we'll talk Aggie football. Now let's go live to Legends in Albertville, here on Power 107.5 FM.
And welcome to Legends. We're a man short tonight. Barry and John. Keith's out doing something with chickens. I don't know what he's doing. Do you know what?
He's helping the farmers of our community.
Yeah, he's fertilizing the area.
He's fertilizing the pasture.
That's what we'll say.
Yeah.
But come out and join us here every Wednesday. I appreciate Coach Bert Browne joining us and being the man behind the idea from this. And I tell you, at the beginning, I was looking forward to it, excited, but every week now, really looking forward to it because, man, we have a good time because we get to learn. In the past, we've called names and numbers. We never get to see the faces and learn about the players, but now we do. And I appreciate you doing that for us.
Yeah, well, that was the whole idea behind the thing, was to get our kids to be able to be on the radio and people get to know them a little bit and that kind of deal. So it's one of those things. I've told people, geez, I've been on the radio and TV all my life, from being a high school quarterback and a college quarterback and all that stuff. It was exciting back a long time ago,
Yeah.
But now I enjoy the kids being able to be on here and do that kind of deal.
Would you say, John, it gives us a better chance? We're calling names on the radio, but now when we call names, we know a little bit more about the players we're talking about.
Well, the faces inside the helmets, and then knowing a little bit about what makes them tick, and just, sometimes you want to think of them as ball players like you do when you look at the NFL on Sunday, but, it's kind of cool to hear some of their answers, and to me, it just kind of puts everything back into perspective that we're still dealing with high school kids, and it's still kind of fun.
In some cases, junior high.
Junior, that's right. In some cases, junior high.
Well, Coach, I know it's been fall break for you, so getting ready for a game. How tough is it with the fall break with no school, but I guess practice, business as usual?
Well, and, that's something that I was going to talk about a little bit. The thing here is we've got fall break and we've got a game that we're playing, which I would love to try to be able to have an open date and be able to give the kids off that open date during fall break. But I've got to learn about how the region works and how I'm thinking it might be week 5 and week 10, maybe week 1 you can have open dates. But I'm not for sure on that. Anyway, I hope that next year we can kind of marry that up and get our open date with fall break. Because our kids, they were in the weight room this morning at 7:30. They were lifting, and then we went out to practice. We met and all that stuff. So for them, the sacrifice that it takes to play football is something that I don't know that a lot of people, if they haven't played at the high school level and that kind of thing, even college, it is a grind, and it is tough to be 0-7 and still get up in the morning early on fall break and come in there. That shows you the commitment and the guts that our kids that are playing football here have, and that they keep fighting and they keep doing the things that we're asking them to do. And I tell them all the time that I really appreciate how hard they work and the things that they're doing and trying to make our football program good.
Well, like tomorrow, it's a Thursday, no school, but they're going in at 6:45 tomorrow.
No, we got school tomorrow.
Oh, school tomorrow, got you. But 6:45, even on a school day, that's tough.
We practice on Thursday mornings before school, and we've been doing that all year, and it's one of those deals where really and truly, and then we do an offensive practice in the morning. We'll come back right after school, do a defensive walkthrough meeting, and then they get out of there pretty early tomorrow. So it's just something that I don't think a lot of people realize the commitment that these kids have had and how tough it is to play football and the commitment that you have to have, especially. And I've told them this. I said, guys, I know it's tough. I was my sophomore year, we were 1-10 in college. It was miserable. That's tough. And these guys have just done a great, fabulous job of coming out and working, and we're still learning how the standard and how we have to work, and I think that's really going to take place in the weight room in the winter. We're gonna really indoctrinate them into what is expected, and it's going to be. I told them they better bring a towel every day.
One thing,
take a
John.
shower.
Who have you brought with you tonight, Coach?
Well, I got some guys that Brian Castro is with us. He's a senior linebacker. Ethan Owens is with us. Ethan and Elijah were co-defensive players of the week. Elijah Felix is with us, and he's been playing defensive end, done a great job for us. And then Dez Revolt was our special teams player of the week. He did a great job punting, and really, our defense played lights out, and Dez put them in good situations on some punts.
Coach, this week, I mean, obviously, tough loss. I mean, that's all you can say. Those one, I have told people this week that as a player and as a coach, I think I'd rather lose them by a couple of touchdowns than 1 or 2 points, because it's like, man, what shoulda, woulda, coulda kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So, but as you just said, the kids have got to come back. Season's not over.
Yeah.
And you've talked about growing up to be those men that you had to be. And sometimes we're gonna have those losses as men. You still got to get up out of bed, get a shower, and start the next day. But what has practice been like this week? Have they been able to kind of flush that, get it out, and say, hey, next opponent up, let's go?
Yeah, I think so. And I talk to them about that stuff all the time, about overcoming things that happen to you. And, it was a great life lesson. Man, it's gut-wrenching and it feels terrible, but the sun's coming up tomorrow. We got to go to work, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach boys how to become men, and I think that football is the greatest game in the world to teach you that, because like I've said many times, there was many times I was on the ground and didn't feel like getting up, but I knew I had to because there's a bunch of guys counting on me. And I think that's what football teaches you. It teaches you to persevere and to keep fighting through bad times and stuff like that. And that's what we're fighting through right now. We're fighting through a tough time, and these guys are coming to work every day. And again, we're nothing near what we need to be on the level of practice and how we need to practice, but we're learning that, and definitely being here, and I've said this, our strength coach does a great job, Coach Halford. But he was really a one-man wrecking crew there all since the end of the season last year, all the way through. And what's going to be great is, I've talked about this, going to talk with people about it. We need a bunch of coaches in that weight room in the morning, and we need those guys getting after these kids and really pushing them to be the best that they can be, because there are things that we've got to do here that other people probably don't have to do, because they've got SEC players running around the hallways, in 7A football. So we're going to do some things this winter, and these guys are – I told them, I said, come June, you will look totally different than you look right now, because we are going to get after it in the weight room. We're going to do it conditioning, weightlifting, all that stuff. So I'm excited about that.
After the Grissom game, looking back at film, is there 1 or 2 things you saw that this is what we really have to work on this week? For sure, got to work on these things this week.
Well, we are, and I say this all the time, we're starting 4 sophomore offensive linemen against grown men. Grown men.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some kids we're playing that if you could stand down on the field and see them. I mean, I've been coaching Division I college football, and I'm standing over there going, good Lord. I mean, these dudes look like they're in college, and we're starting sophomores against those guys, and that's where the weight room is going to come in handy for us next year and the next year, But we score, and we're asking CJ to kick extra points and for us, and he hadn't been doing that but a couple weeks.
Yeah.
And my thinking behind that whole deal there is it's 12-0. We score, and I'd thought about it when we didn't make the first one. I thought, okay, if we score again, we're going to kick the extra point and make it 13, because I knew our defense was playing well, and I knew they had a real good field goal kicker. And I would have hated to gotten beat at the end of the game on a last-second field goal and get beat 13-12 when you went for two and didn't get it, and you might have, hit an extra point. So that was my thinking. I wanted to at least make it 13-0, so that if they scored a touchdown and kicked 2 field goals, it would at least be a tie. And honestly, like I say, offensive line-wise, we were learning every game, and we're doing things, and those guys are busting their tails. But we're not very strong up front right now, just because we're so young. I mean, we got 15-year-olds playing, so I felt like we had a better chance to get an extra point than we did 3 yards, really, down on the goal line. Because now, what you do down there, it's not like being in the field when you've got 40 yards behind you, and they're worried about you throwing the football when it's 3 yards to go.
Sure.
They've got that end zone, that back line to play defense for them. So, but, man, we defensively, man, we just played lights out, I thought, and our kids fought. And it's just a tough way to lose.
I think John will agree. Avis, you've talked about him from day one. Last week he was here with us about his chance of playing at the next level. I think he showed it perfectly Friday night what he can do.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent game.
Well, X can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to be a big college back. I think he is going to be a steal. I called Brent Dearman today at UNA, and I called Evan McKissick, one of my buddies at Troy, about him. And I know Coach Karcher has called people that he knows about him. I think easily an FBS mid-major guy. And honestly, who knows? Because he's going to be 220 one day and a load. He's a load right now.
Yeah.
But he's 195, 200 pounds. But at 220 now, he's going to be a grown 6'3", 220. That's a big man running downhill at you. And every college football team in America needs a big back, at least one. And I think somebody's going to get a steal. I'll tell you that.
Other players we called, John, Kirkland came in, ran the ball. First time we'd seen him this year. I think Froelich was one of the young men who was a lot of tackles. All these young men sitting here. You had some players who really stood out, had great games Friday night.
Yeah, we did, and defensively we just give up 2 long balls,
Yeah.
And we just absolutely played lights out defensively. I know Ethan on Hunter's interception. Ethan was in the quarterback's grill.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that helped that ball get over there, over the top of the receiver, so that he couldn't really follow through with it because Ethan was all over him.
Coach, we were talking about, this game, and now you're, 8 games into a season now, and I just want to get your take on the first week after ARAB, and you're watching film study, right? And you're breaking down the film for ARAB. And we're not talking about looking at Boaz. We're talking about just what you see on ARAB. And then you break down this film. Talk about that growth that you've seen on both sides of the ball. Now, granted, obviously, you were a lot like my dad. You could probably, a lot of things you could go on. But just the growth of week 1 post-game film study versus week 8 post-game film, or week 7.
Most definitely. I mean, me and Jim Nelson were walking back this morning from practice over back to the field house and talking about the growth that we see. And, and I told Jim, I said, I'm not, and I've said this on this radio show, I think. That first day we went out, when I got here in April, I did. I called my wife that morning and said I made a mistake, because it was awful. I mean, we couldn't run over bags, and do, and it was terrible. And I told the kids that, because I told them, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm going to tell you the truth. And we have come so far, and we came so far from that day until we finished in the end of April, when we finished our Red Dawn stuff. We didn't even look like the same group that was out there. So. In this season, I mean, it doesn't show in the win-loss column, but our kids have improved drastically. And, I think Tony out there this morning, our defensive coordinator, Tony Harper, he was getting on one of our safeties, and he was like, you got to know that call. And then he stopped, and he thought about it and thought, well, this is a freshman. But we have. I mean, we've improved drastically since since week 1, but we've also played a lot. The football teams that we've played, and nothing against the early teams we played, but now Austin and Sparkman, they're a little bit different now.
Yeah.
Well, and Coach, I can tell you that you're getting the attention of other 7A coaches that saw this team last year, because every one of those, I interview every opposing coach usually on Wednesday evening, usually after the show, and have a chance in my office to sit down and talk to them, because obviously they've watched game film on us, they're preparing, and James Clemens will go through their walkthroughs tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I already had a chance, actually, before I came here today, Coach McGee asked if we could do a little early because he had something, an obligation this evening. But one thing that I've heard consistently from every one of those 7A coaches is just the vast difference in night and day of this Albertville football team this year in terms of discipline and schemes and where you're going versus the teams of last year. So, Coach, I just wanted to put a feather in your cap in what you're doing is working, and your peers are recognizing that.
Well, I appreciate that, and we have a great, Tony Harper does a great job as our defense coordinator, and Ken Karcher, of course, does a great job offensively. It's tough to call plays offensively when you're thinking about, okay, where can I run this ball right here, because, we have a mismatch here, that we can't run the ball there because there's a bad mismatch that we know that this guy's going to handle, that, their D lineman is going to handle our guy because he's an SEC player,
right?
Over there against a sophomore. But even then, even with what they're saying, I appreciate that, but we are far from being where I want us to be as far as, like I've talked about the receivers blocking. I talked about we still don't understand that you got to hustle downfield and block people, and if you're not, you're gonna be standing on the sideline with me, and I don't care. I'm one of those guys. I think I told you guys this story. I listened to a guy, and I can't remember who it was in Tennessee. This is years ago, 15, 20 years ago, at a clinic that started out 0-5 and played for the state championship. He lost, but he played. And after he was done speaking, was at a coach's clinic, somebody said, "Coach, how'd you do it?" He said, "I kicked my 2 best players off the team."
Wow.
And he goes, "They were bringing our kids down, and we were 0-5. I was miserable. And so it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to do your job, or you're not going to be – you're going to be standing on the sideline or not be around is my point. And I've done that everywhere I've gone. If you don't want to do what you're supposed to do, I don't care – if the University of Alabama has offered you a scholarship, you're going to stand on the sideline if you're not going to do what you're supposed to do. So that is where I want us to be. I want our kids to realize that Coach Browne don't play around. We're going to be at this standard, and we're going to be held accountable. We're going to do these things, or we're not going to be around.
Coach, we got some more special guests. We'll be joined by Riley Willingham coming up next, John, with Albertville Primary School. We've got some more players to talk to. We'll take a time out and come back in a few minutes with the Coach Bert Browne Show here at Legends of Albertville on Power 107.5. And welcome back to Legends at Albertville. Barry Galloway, John Gladden, Chris Jenkins off. Keith Ball, he's always off. But he's off working his second job tonight. We got a special guest. I got a table full of players we'll talk to in a few minutes, John. But joining us from the Albertville Primary School, Riley Willingham. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are y'all?
So we're talking football, are we?
I can do that.
We got you okay. So thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
They give you a whole list of things we're going to talk about.
Yes,
is that right?
Yes. We're only going to touch on a few things, though.
But thanks for joining us. You got your family over here.
Yes.
You got a football official over here. Is he going to
long line of Aggies back here?
Is he going to critique us on their performance here? Yeah. So John, she's here joining us with a whole list. And from the primary school, how are things at the primary school?
It's going good. We're finally getting back in the swing of things with school starting back, and now we have fall break, so we got to do it all over again.
So you go back tomorrow, first day since fall break?
50th day of school is Friday, so.
Wow.
What's Friday?
50th day of school.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so now you're a teacher there at APS in first grade.
First grade, yes.
But you're working toward an administration type degree
as
well.
Sir.
So
yes, sir. I'm going to UWA, and so I'll be finished in the spring.
Awesome. So you're kind of the emissary for tonight.
Yes.
You're the spokesperson for APS.
I got this thrown at me real good.
That's called being the low man on the totem pole during fall break.
Yes,
is what
it
that's
is.
called. Yeah. So what's going on? What's some good things going on at APS that people need to know about?
We have just finished up our Johnny Appleseed projects, and second grade, they're diving into their pumpkin projects, and each class will put those out in the hallway.
Right.
It's really cool to see. Also, we have a new curriculum, Open Court, with the Literacy Act.
Yep.
That's really big this year. And so we have a new open court reading curriculum, and we're also starting iReady. It's a new assessment, and so we're really looking at that and seeing what the data shows for that with our testing. It's been a challenge, but I think it's going to be good in the long run.
Yeah, and the Literacy Act and the reason why that's important is that's going to be a part of schools' report cards here next year, right? And they held it off for one more year, but it officially becomes part of that how good your school is equation next year, I believe.
Yes, I think this is really going to get us ready for that as well.
And then is it a year or two after that the math part of that comes in? So it's like 1 year's literacy and then a couple of years later it's math.
Yes, that's going to be coming down the pipeline too. As we also have our Blessings in a Backpack. This is the most children we've ever fed.
Oh, wow.
And we really need sponsors, would be greatly appreciated. We're feeding a lot of kids on the weekends, and then over the Christmas break, we'll also be feeding them for a longer period of time. And so if you do feel led to sponsor, or know anybody that will sponsor, just talk to the schools, because our number just continues to increase as we get more kids. We can also put them on the Blessings in a Backpack list.
This has been going on for a while, but for those who may be new to them, tell them exactly what that is.
Yes, Blessings in a Backpack is where the teacher can realize if the student needs some food during the weekends that they may not have, and it's where the teacher just sends their name down to the front office, and then it goes to a big list.
Gotcha.
And they get something, either comes on Thursday afternoons or Friday mornings, and it's just a prepackaged meal that they will have the opportunity to eat on throughout the weekend.
That is so important too. It
So
really
important.
is.
And it number has grown every single year.
Wow.
And it's expensive.
Yeah.
And we already have great sponsorships, but the more kids we get, the more names we're putting on this list.
So you're talking about, obviously, Albertville, very, very generous community, always giving out, always taking care of our kids. And I mean, I love that. That is one of my favorite. When I talk about Albertville in different parts of the state, I always talk about the generosity of the people from top to bottom. So my next question, you said, I just want to make sure people are clear on this. So let's say I'm listening to this program this evening, or I'm listening to the playback here in a couple of days, and I want to be a sponsor. Do I just call the central office, or do I just call your office at APS?
Either one will be fine. They'll just point you in the right direction on which one it is. It starts in kindergarten.
Okay.
And so the teachers can start putting their names, and then if kindergarten has a sibling, that teacher gets contacted, or if that sibling's left out in kindergarten, it kind of trickles on down. So nobody's going to get left out in that one family if there are multiple siblings.
So if I have a kid in AKPK and I contact Mona Sheets and I have one at AES, then those are kind of we're going to make sure those are meshed together to take care of those kids.
And they'll both get a bag for that weekend.
Awesome, love that.
And then during the holidays, it's obviously a bigger bag because it's a longer break.
Sure.
Right.
It's a really great opportunity, but like I said, more kids, more money. The other thing we're talking about is our PTO this year is amazing. It's very active, and they work in a PTO store every other week at school so the kids can bring money and buy all the things. They also have our Aggie shop that they help with. And if you want to join the PTO, you can also contact the school, and they do stuff from benches. We just got brand new benches this year with our PTO money. So during car line, the kids can sit on the bench instead of the cement. And it is amazing. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but it really is, and they're sitting out there waiting on their car. So PTO funded that, and they also fund field day and stuff like that. Popcorn during Polar Express. They do a lot of things. So if you want to join PTO, if you're a parent, that's a great opportunity to help out as well.
And would they call the office to maybe get information on how to join and get PTO at every school, right?
Every school.
So they just can call the office of where the respective school where their kid goes and can get information on how to be a part of the PTO.
Yes, and it goes from teachers to we get gifts all throughout the year. It gives the stuff to the students. Like I said, they get popcorn or hot chocolate during Polar Express. End of the year stuff. They actually sponsored our inflatables during field day. So PTO does a lot behind the scenes.
Can I come to hot chocolate popcorn?
Of course, you got to wear pajamas.
Oh,
got to wear pajamas.
We don't want to see that.
Listen, I'm in scrubs every day. I wear pajamas every day anyway, so I'm good.
Well,
We're
Riley,
having a lot of fun at first and second grade at APS.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Anything else we need to mention?
That is it. Go Aggies.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're talking to Riley Willingham
Thank
of the
y'all very
Albertville Primary
much.
School. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I was just going to ask her really quick so anything, I mean, like as we come back from fall break, so between fall break and Christmas break, what are we wanting to focus on if I have a child at APS? What are we
reading every single night with your child?
reading every single night on my child?
There you go.
I got it.
Important.
I mean, there is obviously data out there for that, but
Sure.
I mean, it is. You want to say it's common sense, but reading every single night, talking to your child, is a huge factor.
And then when they become teenagers, I can't get them to shut up.
Yeah, yeah. Vocabulary, those books, send them to the public library. You know, all reading is incredible. You reading too, not just them read to you. Have those conversations.
I can
Exactly.
understand that. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Get them off those tablets. Get them off the devices.
Yeah. Well, Riley, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, we'll take a time out, come back and talk for some of the Aggie players. We're at the Legends of Albertville with the Coach Bert Browne Show here on Power 107.5.
It's
Great
football
job.
time in Alabama. One of the best times of the whole year. This is Congressman Robert Adderhall. It often seems like this world is changing so fast.
We got girls basketball.
Yellow onions, 3-pound bag, $2.19 each. Food Club cheese, shredded, chunks or cubes, 5 for $10.
You ever seen any of those girls
6
volleyball
mega
players in
rolls,
college?
Charmin bath
I
tissue,
wouldn't.
or
Yeah.
6 big rolls,
Yes,
Bounty
ma'am.
paper towels, 2 for $11 at Foodland Plus
Here we go.
in
And Amazon,
Albertville.
too.
And welcome back to Legends of Albertville. Barry Galloway, John Gladden, and talking to Coach Bert Browne coming up in just a moment. John, always a pleasure bringing the players with us, and this young man's become a regular with us. Des Revolt, how you doing, Des?
Good, how about you?
Good to have you back with us again. Put him on the payroll, John.
You don't have to put him on the payroll, okay? He keeps making the cut to get to be on the radio. I think he's figured out that if I get to the radio, I get free wings for the night. So I'm going to kill myself on Friday just so I get the meal on Wednesdays. Des, last week, great job back there in the quarterback position. Couple of. I mean, obviously throws. You made great throws, and it's a couple you'd like to have back. But what I want to talk about is, man, you were dealing with some fits with your legs. Talk about what you're dropping back to pass. It's you're going through your progressions, and then you're taking off. Talk about, I mean, just that mindset of, I see green grass, I'm gone.
Oh, yeah, when I saw that green grass, I was like, come on, I got to score on this. I was like, I got to do this for my team, you know. I just like seeing green grass because it just feels good.
So when you were making those cuts, I mean, like, I've never been a quarterback. My roommate was a quarterback, and he could talk to me about that. But still, unless you're one, but you drop back to pass, you got your progressions, right? So are you looking at like, I got 1, I got 2, I got 3 reads, and then I'm out of here? Or how is Coach Karcher working with you at being able to be the best quarterback that you can be every week?
Well, Coach Karcher, for right now, he's letting me only read like 1 read right now. I got 1 read, and if I don't have that, I either throw it out of bounds or I just run it or something like that.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so just kind of simplifying the offense a little bit for you.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Offense moved the ball well pretty much the entire game. You had a good game. X had a good game. Kirkland came in later on. He ran the ball well. I thought that make you feel good. Offense was moving the ball well.
Yeah.
So what do you see this week against a different defense this week? What do you know about James Clemens?
I know the forefront's pretty good, so I got to, lock in on that.
Anything you've seen on film you think they might give you as far as a little more run or maybe up the middle, around the end, pass? What do you see that you think that y'all might can take advantage of? Run, pass, what do you think?
I think we might can take advantage on the boundary side when they run. That they do like a cap coverage, something like that. So, yeah.
Coach Brown's here with us. Anything you want to ask him about, Coach?
Yeah, they do some things. And there's not much running in the middle. They got 2 dudes. Our game plan is not to run up the middle.
Gotcha.
They got an SEC safety, in my opinion.
Yep.
So, we're going to try to throw the ball outside, not in the middle, and then see what we can do in the run game.
And Des, last week, obviously you've got Xavier Havis back there, but then, I mean, it's got to be a joy as a quarterback to turn around and then you have Jakari Kirkland that's starting to come in and starting to kind of find his own as he's grown up in this season. and correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the greatest things that you can have as a quarterback is a good running game. Kind of takes the pressure off you a little bit to have to make all those plays with your arm, and you obviously you're the commander out there.
Yes,
but a strong running game's got to be, you got to love that as a quarterback.
Yeah, I do. I love that a lot. 'Cause it's just like fun to watch them, do their thing and stuff.
Right.
One thing Des really did well was punt the ball.
That's right.
Golly, he pinned them. There was 2 or 3 punts he had that were critical to keeping that game where it was at, and he did a great job doing that. I thought really perfect punts.
Is that something you worked on a lot over the past, say, month or two, Des, is your punting?
Yes, sir. When CJ got banged up, they put me in back there at punting position, and I just been practicing it for last week.
Something that amazes me about a punter is, from your right and your left, there's guys coming in. They're wanting to block it, tear you apart. Do you see any of that in your vision? And
I
how much?
Try to punt the ball. I don't worry about that. I just
Gotcha.
try to get the ball down the field.
Well, Des, appreciate you. Looking forward to the game. And
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
got a young man to your right here. Also had a big game, Elijah. I think he's back for his second week, John. Elijah Felix joining us. Elijah, good to have you back. We had you a couple of weeks ago. Had another big game Friday night. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us about your thoughts on how you played Friday night.
I played really well last game. Hold on. But I played really well. And
So what do you think, Coach, from what you saw from Elijah?
He did some great things. We moved him a few weeks ago to defensive end, and he's really, I think it's a natural position for him. I think Elijah at the college level is going to gain a lot of weight and get bigger, and might be a guy that's a hand in the dirt, rush in type guy.
Is that what you'd like to do? We asked you off the air earlier your position. If you could pick one where you'd like to play.
Linebacker.
Okay.
Yeah. I miss it.
But he'll play any position you ask him to play, and then when you get to college, you're going to play what they tell you.
Yeah. We've seen you on offense some, too. You like it over the offensive side, too?
Yeah, I like it a lot. This game, I'll probably get the ball a little bit, but
okay.
I'm hoping so.
What about going out as receiver? You work on catching the ball in practice a lot, or is that something new to you? Have you always been?
No, I've always been catching the ball since middle school.
Yeah, well, that's size, John. He needs to get ready for the ball.
Needs to. Elijah, on defense, obviously, you've got Ty Marsh back there that's going to be their quarterback, pretty good gunslinger around there. They also have a good running game. So talk to me about Coach Harper and kind of the game plan that he's put together for a team that, when you look at them, is pretty disciplined in both and balanced in both the pass and the run.
I don't know how to answer that right there, but shoot.
How's Coach Harper helped you figure out, like, we got run and we got pass, keys, stuff that you're looking at, things of that nature?
I'll say our game plan this week, it'll work out for sure. What we put in and stuff like that is, it's going to work.
It's one of those things where now they have a great offensive line.
Right.
It's like watching a dance troupe. I mean, those guys come off the football, they step together in the zone stuff, and so it's going to be a tremendous challenge for us defensively. We're probably playing the best offensive line we've played.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Elijah, great to have you with us. Looking forward to this week. And we'll pass it on down to Ethan, who keeps moving down the line trying to avoid being talked to, John. Now, he was talking a lot before the
I don't know. That's what I was getting ready to say. Ethan never shuts up, so I don't know why he's trying to avoid that.
He couldn't be quiet one before the microphone started. But Ethan Owens, hey, Ethan, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you.
Hey, so let's go back to Friday night's game. So what about you? Grade yourself. How did you play? What do you think?
Obviously, I think it was one of my better games. But, we all have places where we could do better. Like, I know I had a couple missed tackles. If I would have broke down a little earlier, could have had those. Hitting with my head down, something I'm real bad at. But if I can get those fixed, I feel like I'll be a better player.
What about pressuring the quarterback? You like that when you get back there in his face?
Yeah, especially when you make eye contact with the quarterback.
Yeah.
when you make eye contact with the quarterback, it's just something else because you either know you finna get him or he finna mess something up. Because, like, when I got that one right up in his face, he threw it straight to Hunter.
Yeah. So, Coach, what did you see from Ethan Friday night?
Well, Ethan did a great job. It was on Hunter's interception. That was Ethan, because Ethan pressured him. He got right in his face, and the kid couldn't follow through. And so when he didn't follow through, because Ethan was in his face, his ball was high and it went over the receiver, and Hunter picked it.
If it were like basketball, he'd get an assist on that interception.
Yeah,
there.
well, yeah, it doesn't work out that way.
No.
You get a quarterback hurry.
Gotcha. So, where would you like? We ask everybody, if you could pick the one position you could have played, where would you have picked?
I feel like I'd stay at linebacker just because I've been playing it since middle school.
We've called your name out a lot over the last few weeks. To me, you've gotten better and better since day one in the summertime. Can you feel yourself bigger and stronger since being in the weight room?
I've definitely gotten stronger, especially with the weight program that we've put in. Because I went from squatting like 300 pounds, now I can rep almost 400. And I mean, that really turns over to the field, especially with the people who we play.
Who would be some of the strongest players on the team if you had to pick one or two that you've seen in the weight room?
Christian Ramirez. He's today he bench pressed 315 for 2. So
wow.
He's definitely one of the strongest ones.
That's like pressing the 2 of Castro's over here, right? Yeah. Looking at his gun, man, he's been in the weight room a bit. He's got some guns over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hey, looking for you. Any questions, John, before we move on?
No, I was just going to ask. Can you tell from the time you started, kind of like the question I asked Coach a few moments ago was, I mean, just your growth from the Arab game going into this Grissom game or going into this James Clemens game. I mean, just the way that Coach Harper has coached you as a linebacker, you're making calls and you're seeing stuff. Talk to me a little bit about your growth from week 0 of this season to where you are now and just how you felt yourself grow as a player.
Oh, I mean, when we played Arab, something not just me but all of our linebackers had is we would all get sucked into the line and move too fast so we couldn't read our keys. But, like, now we've got different ways of how we read our keys, and we're not moving as fast downhill, but we process it a lot quicker. And, I mean, once you read the keys, it's like you can make that play as soon as possible.
Ethan, we appreciate your leadership and what you've done for the Aggies this year. We enjoy watching you play and can't wait till Friday night.
Thank you.
We got one more over here, the young man on the end. We'll talk to him, Brian Castro. And Brian joining us, I believe, his first time this year, Coach. First time joining us on the radio show.
Brian is one of our silent leaders. Brian does a great job in the weight room. He works. He comes out of the weight room drenched in sweat. There is no nonsense in him. He's going to get in there and get after it and do the things he's got to do. And that's the thing that I appreciate him. And our other seniors have been great leaders for our kids. And I tell them that all the time. I mean, it's tough to be a senior and not have won a game. And those guys have kept working hard and really leading these younger guys on, hey, you got to keep fighting through it.
Brian, I wasn't kidding earlier. Impressive, I can tell, weight room. How does that paid off for you this year?
I feel like it's paid big gains, especially for me, because I feel like this offseason I've improved a lot in the weight room, and I feel like that's helped me, especially get playing time this year, because last year I got no playing time.
Right.
And this year I was a starter.
Yeah.
Does that show you down the road hard work pays off?
Oh, yes, sir.
What about speed-wise? Do you feel bigger, faster, and you're out on the field? I've
definitely gotten bigger, but my speed has been relatively the same. But
sure.
I feel like that's a good thing because I've gotten bigger. So if I can keep my same speed, I feel like that's good too.
And I think goes back to what Ethan's talking about too. Is that because you've had Coach Harper and now you're reading those keys, it's you're being able – the game's starting to slow down a little bit for you, so you're able to go attack and get where you're supposed to be. So maybe the same speed, but because you're reading those keys a little bit different, able to make different plays. Are you starting to see the game kind of slow down a little bit for you just so you kind of like where everything's coming so fast? Now as the game slowed down where you're able to see those keys, know where you got to go to make the play.
Definitely. Being able to read the keys is just allows me to see the play a whole lot better and react a lot better to what's going on around me.
Right.
You know, Brian is not only a very good football player, he's an excellent student. I mean, he is. What's your GPA?
4.1.
Yeah.
Wow.
Guy's so good, he's got over a 4.0. I didn't think he could beat.
I was a
better than
1.4 when I was in school. Man, that's impressive, man.
Yeah,
That's impressive.
he is very intelligent, and he's a real cerebral player. He key reading and things like that is not hard for him. I mean, he picks stuff up as soon as you tell him.
So what do you want to do when you go to college? What do you want to be?
I was thinking of becoming a physical therapist right now.
There you go.
There you go. That'd be good.
Well,
then you could, if you get really, really good, you can be one of them NFL teams. Then you can be around football forever.
Yeah.
I can tell you, the hard work, the leadership you're getting from the coaches, paying off. It's going to pay off not just on the field, but for the rest of your life. Trust me. It's something you'll never forget.
Yes, sir.
Hey, glad to have you with us.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, we'll see you Friday night.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take another time out and come back and talk with Coach about this coming game against James Clemens. We're at Legends of Albertville here on Power 107.5. And welcome back to Legends of Albertville. Barry Galloway, John Gladden here, Coach Brown. Talking about James Clemens coming up Friday night. We've seen what we thought were some of the better ones in the region. Where does James Clemens rank up there with Austin and Sparkman?
Well, Austin beat them last week for the first region loss. I really thought they were going to win it. I thought James Clemens was going to win it after everything shook down, and it really surprised me that Austin beat them. Now, Austin has a very good football team, but I was surprised.
Yeah, that Fuqua kid went off on the running back guy.
Yeah.
He had a really good night.
Yeah, and they're playing a different quarterback, Austin is.
Yep.
Number 12, and I think he throws it better than the other guy.
Speaking of quarterbacks, going to see quarterback Tyler Marsh, college bound, probably more on the line of baseball. He's a big baseball kid too, but he's got both baseball and football offers. Being there at the quarterback, over 1,300 yards passing so far this season, 61% quarterback percentage. Just talk to us about the challenge that your defense is going to face, because they're very balanced off both run and pass, but just the challenge that a quarterback like that puts on the defense.
Yeah. Well, the thing about these guys is their offensive line's so good. It's the best offensive line, in my opinion, we've played. So, when you throw a quarterback in there that can throw it with an offensive line that can play, that can be a very tough thing for a defense, because you don't know if they're going to run it or throw it, and when they do throw it, they're going to have time to throw it because they got such a good offensive line. So it is a big challenge for us and our kids, and we're going to have to bring our A game.
Would this be the best offense you've seen so far this year, talent-wise?
It'll be the best offensive line. I don't think talent-wise it'll be. My high school coach years ago, who was like my second dad, he told me, when you get a head coaching job, son, the first thing you do is get an offensive line coach, because if you can't block them, you can't win. And the guy over there, whoever it is, that coaches that O-line, does a great job. And and they're big and strong and athletic, and they move. And we played some real good offensive lines, but I think this might be the best coached offensive line we've seen.
Coach, so let's flip that over to our offensive line. You said earlier in the broadcast tonight that you got, 3 or 4 sophomores? 4 sophomores out of 5 on our offensive line. And you're going to go up against an edge rusher that's already committed to Missouri. You got the other side edge rusher who's already committed to –
You just scared our offensive line there.
No, sorry. But you got let's just say this. You got 3 guys, all of them with offers, 2 of them already committed.
Yeah.
What do you do with that young offensive line to help Dez out?
Well, you try to get rid of it fast.
Right.
There's not a lot of – that puts Ken – as an offensive coordinator, I've been there. We've talked about it. It puts you in a box as a coordinator on the things that you can do, and you've got to – we see things in a game that, man, if we could do this, we could really hurt them with it, the way they're playing their defense. But we can't do that because physically we can't do it. So there's things that I think this time next year we'll be able to do some things because we'll be bigger and stronger and faster and all that good stuff. So, but when you're starting 4 sophomore offensive linemen in this region, 7A, you have to be very creative with what you do, and Ken is a great offensive coordinator and takes advantage of people the best that we can. And he's called some touchdowns this year that hadn't been touchdowns, that me and him are standing over going, this is 6, and we just didn't execute it.
Right.
Several touchdowns, and because of what defenses are doing, we take advantage of it, and he takes advantage of it. So, like you said, I mean, they got a Missouri commit. It's tough.
Right. Coach, what do you coming back over to Albertville now? Because I think we could all agree of what James Clemens, what we're going to see, and the folks they have over there. But looking at Albertville, so you got 3 weeks left in the season. You got James Clemens and Bob Jones, and then Gunnersville.
Yeah.
What are you looking for out of this team over the final 3 weeks of the season in terms of you as a head coach, growth? I just kind of wanted to get into your mind about what are you looking for the next 3 weeks.
Well, I want to see the kids keep playing hard like they've been playing all year. And I tell them, we got to get better every day at practice. In every game, you got to get better. And you learn from mistakes. You learn from mistakes happening to you, and then it's just like if you touch that hot stove, you don't want to do that again,
Right.
So you learn not to do that. So when you make a mistake, and that's what we talked to them about, when you make that mistake, put that in your mind and say, okay, I know that I'm not doing that again. I'm going to do this. And so I want to see these guys continue to get better every week, continue to fight hard and continue to work hard like they've been doing all year. And I want them to every day I want them to raise the standard that they're working for, and I think that's how you become successful in anything that you do. And I talk to them about this all the time. In life, guys, you got to strive to be. You're never going to be perfect, And in my opinion, it's one person has walked this earth, in my opinion, that was perfect, and it's none of us. And so you're always going to try to be perfect, and by trying to be perfect, you get better. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for these guys to continue to do what they're doing, continue to get better every day, and continue to play as hard as you possibly can till that final horn goes off, And we're getting a ton of playing time for young guys that regularly would not be playing this much. That's going to pay off next year, the next year, the next year, and the next year because we're playing an 8th grader at quarterback, So there's a lot of things that are going to pay off, I think, for us.
Is this something you can use with the players that they can look at it like, okay, yeah, we're playing some guys this week who are going to be playing college football, but it's my chance to go up there and go up against him and have some bragging rights down the road saying, yeah, he's on TV for Missouri, but when I played against him, I did this against him, I did this against him. Something to brag about.
Yeah, it is if we can do that.
If they can do that, just get in their mind that I need to go out there and do my very best and maybe even beat them a player or two.
Yeah, and so, and I tell you what, they've got a safety, number 7, that is a war daddy. I mean, he comes downhill. He's a big-time safety. And so they've got some guys over there, and it's a great challenge for our kids and for our coaching staff and to see what we can go in there and do. We need 4 turnovers by them would be nice, and 2 pick sixes for us. And so, we need some turnovers. We need to have some things go our way.
Coach, you talked about Dez obviously able to flip the field position with his punting. Earlier in the broadcast, you referred to their kicker as kind of being in the back of your mind of wanting to get that extra point. With the size of the student body that we have at Albertville, and you may know where I'm going with this question, how do you as a coach, A, recruit and or B, develop where you have one of those kickers that's kind of like that? I mean, because it seems like a lot of these schools that we play, they got a dude that's what he does. You're the kicker. Yeah. How do you go about your philosophy on A, recruiting one, and B, developing one?
Right. We're going to have to find a couple kids in our school that can do it because, I think CJ's going to be a real good one. but CJ's going to be a quarterback. And listen, man, I was a quarterback, and I don't know if I could have gone in, even if I could have hit a 40-yarder at the end of the game, as beat up as you get in your body as a quarterback, to be able to go in and kick one that means something at the end of the game, that's going to be pretty tough. So we need to find somebody that can do it, and that's what they do. And, we'll have some guys come out here in the winter and let them get out there and kick and see what they can do on the field.
And then my final question, I guess, for the night coach is when you look at this game, you just alluded to turnovers and stuff, but speaking offensively first, and you and I'll talk more tomorrow night like we normally do, but what are 2 or 3 keys to the game offensively for you making that? Because, once again, you're having to travel, right? So now you got a travel roster and the challenges that come with the travel of an away game.
Yeah.
But your 2 or 3 keys to this game offensively speaking first.
Well, we just need to get first downs. We're not going to – I don't think we're going to big play these guys because they are so good defensively. But we just need to work on one play at a time. Nick Saban says it, one play at a time, and that's what we kind of talk to about our kids is play one play, don't look at the scoreboard, then play the next play, don't look at the scoreboard. So we need to put together some long drives that we can flip the field if we don't score. But first downs is big. If we can get us a few first downs and move the ball and get in a rhythm, like I say, against Austin, we had a 16-play drive, so we can do that. But it is definitely when you got some guys that are going to play in the SEC on the defensive line, it's tough. But I know Ken's got some things that we're going to try to do to maybe eliminate some of that pass rush and things like that.
Yeah, and then the B part of that question, keys to the game defensively.
Well, we need to stop the run, and I know the quarterback's a good football player, but, you make a high school quarterback beat you.
Right.
And if he does, he does, and hats off to him. But we need to stop the run. I know Tony's going to move our front, and, there is no just getting in a gap against these cats.
Right.
There's no holding a point. Because we're not going to hold the point against these guys. We got to move, and I know that Tony's going to be moving guys and bringing guys here and there and that kind of stuff. So that that we keep them kind of not knowing what's where we're coming from.
Right. Coach Browne, appreciate you joining us. It's been another good week.
Yeah, thank you all.
Good luck to you Friday night.
Thank you all. We will definitely hope that we get a good crowd over there that cheers these kids on, and just the guts that our young men have and have shown is very impressive to me.
We'll be out there cheering you on.
Thank you.
Out on the bleachers, there's no room in the press box, they tell us. So we'll be out there with you.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, thanks, Sean.
Thank you, sir.
We'll talk to you Friday night. Join us again next Wednesday right here for the Coach Bert Browne Show at Legends of Albertville. And again, Friday night we'll be on the air. Pre-game at 6:30, kickoff at 7 here on Power 107.5. We'll talk to you again next Wednesday here at Legends of Albertville.